and welcome to the Sounder podcast made out of the Sounder of Lady-Hoggers. My name is Molly of the Copper Penny Farm, and as always, I'm here with my friends. Say hello, friends.
Hello, friends. I am Laura Jensen, the pig nerd. Lots going on here. This should be our busiest week of the year. We're recording Christmas week here. But in some really great news, the store is running without me, which is a huge step, huge step. So I'm able to look ahead and work on some other things this week that I didn't think I'd get to. We shipped our biggest number of packages in a week ever yesterday, 17 packages. We weren't doing that in a month, 2 months ago. And there's a lot of reasons, just like a lot of things, a lot of reasons why that's coming through the other side finally. The wholesale license is going good. We've got our second product going into the drying phase. And then this Friday, I get to put my first prosciuttos in. So that means October to December of next year, we'll have our first 6 prosciuttos coming out wholesale. So that is super exciting. We did a Make Mine Maison package, a sample pack with shipping included, $99, going gangbusters, had to run some more hogs to cover it. So loving that that's doing well. Yeah. In other news, the AMBA is getting closer and closer to 1,000 hogs registered. And then in the genetic side, USDA project that I've been working on is kind of it's not looking like we're going to get any piglets. My vet wants me to take a 4-year-old sow to UGA and have her checked out. It's generally against what I do in the vet world, but we'll see. She's going to see what kind of money we're talking about. But worst case, as I know you ladies know, 6 generations in the right percentages, and we can kind of get back there. So kind of settling into that long haul, because I think there is value in 100% USDA lines. Personal level, ready for Christmas, ready as I'm gonna be. Get to see my grandbaby soon, and I'm super excited about that. And just happy to be here with you, amazing people today.
Yeah.
What you got,
What's going
Amanda?
on,
That's
Amanda?
yeah. That was a lot. Sorry, I felt like I just threw up everything. But anyhow, what you got, Amanda?
Anna Buck with Buck Family Ranch, and we are gearing up for Christmas. Also, our family has a big trip coming up. We are flying back to North Carolina for Christmas. So we leave Christmas Eve out of Salt Lake City, and we're just getting things ready for that. So I feel like all the things that have kept us so busy these last couple of months have all been in preparation to be able to leave, so that we know that things are as streamlined as possible for taking care of our animals.
Yeah.
The amount of prep work that has to go into things to be able to leave.
Yes.
Anyway, and to be that far away. I mean, it's one thing if you're a couple hours away and you could just drive back in like a major emergency situation, but when you're 2,600 miles away, you can't just do that. So
Yeah.
anyway, so we've just been getting things ready for that. I feel like we've got animals under control. And so at this point we've been dealing with a minor leak in our camper, and we're trying to figure out where it's coming from. We've isolated the location, but we cannot figure out which pipe it is, because it's a steady leak. It's a leak that is like very slow, and I just empty a bowl of water in the morning, but we have no idea where it's coming. So we're trying to get that figured out. I think Kellen is probably just going to replace some fittings and hope for the best on that. Because
Will you shut the water off when you leave? Will you drain everything?
I don't know. I don't know if we will do that or not. We had talked about, it's funny because my mom just asked me yesterday if we were going to winterize the camper when we're not here.
Uh-huh.
Not planned to, only because like our dogs will be inside, the heat will still be on. We've got everything skirted. We've got heat tape on our water line coming in. Like we've done a lot to get it ready for winter, and it's like we could winterize it, but we're also not supposed to have, our winter has been really weird. So we started off with like cold in October, and yesterday it was like 45. My kids were running around in shorts and t-shirts claiming to be hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How things have changed.
Yeah. Like we don't have any snow that we have gotten is gone. We don't have any snow. They're calling for a little snow on the 23rd, but like it's just really weird. So while we were gone, the temperatures are supposed to be in the upper 30s and 40s. So I
Oh,
think
good.
I think we're just gonna run with it.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, but anyway, we're gearing up for that. And then I think that when we get home, we're going to be hitting the ground running because just beginning of January, we have our big meeting with planning and zoning, trying to get our land rezoned so that we can separate what we need to be able to make the bank happy, to be able to start building. So, I feel like on that plane ride home, I'm going to be going over in my head, how are we going to say things? I've already written them a pretty long letter about why we want to do this, but just get my mind right for that because we want to go in there and make a pretty appealing case, and not just be like, hey, we'd really like it if we could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's basically what we've got going on. Just getting ready for Christmas and then getting ready for getting the ball rolling when we get home. So that's about it. What about you, Molly?
Oh my God, just trying to get my life together,
Mm-hmm.
I got so much I've been having to do and trying to prep for winter. And, so far, I haven't even done and it's been the cold, like it was cold this morning. It was like 15 degrees in the holler this morning. And it was not supposed to be that cold. But I haven't even really put out a lot of stuff. They've just been bundling up and, and doing their thing. But it's just trying to prep and make sure because I got to get my faucets. I got to get covers on them. I mean, I'm going to have to haul water. I just don't know. But I mean, it'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, mostly what I've been doing is just working on myself, I think, instead of working on everything else. Just trying to get my mind right. I think that people, we talk about sadness and depression a lot, but people don't really know it until they're in it,
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I'm just trying to work on myself some and trying to get my mind right to where I can move and do and function as a normal human instead of an emotional roller coaster. But other than that, and then just doing little projects, I have started like next year, everybody goes into January with like all these plans and all this shit they want to do and New Year's. So I don't really do that a lot, but I have come to the point where, I'm by myself now. So I've got to really like pick up this steam and get back into what I'm doing. If I'm going to do it, I've got to, full steam ahead, not have a pity party for myself. So my goal is I got a bunch of stuff down that, that I'm wanting to accomplish that I've said that I was going to this year, but all business wise. So that's given me some things to think about and do as well. But other than that, nothing really going on in my life besides just chaos and laying in my floor when I'm supposed to be vacuuming,
Yeah.
But no, that's about it. But today we are going to talk about some good stuff, which everybody should know about it because I mean, when we want, so we're going to talk about gluten in a way, the gluten. But I think, have you ever watched I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. He did a thing where he was going through and he was asking people if they knew what like gluten intolerance was and if they knew. Have you seen that?
No, that's probably hilarious.
It's fucking hilarious because like people would say that they're gluten intolerant or all this, and he would ask them, but they didn't they didn't even know what it was.
Well, okay.
It was hilarious. So we're going to play off of that a little bit today. We're going to talk about the new thing, the thing that's, well, it's actually new. It's been here for some time, but we're going to talk about gluten.
Yep. We got a couple. I'm ready. I'm ready because I'm one of those people that is gluten intolerant. So I've got a couple articles. Of course, I think it's interesting that the general idea is that there's over 30 million of us now that are gluten intolerant, and we'll talk about that in more detail. Molly, you touched on what exactly does it mean, so I'm going to jump in with my Truth Stream Media article that explains it. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, rye, and barley. When someone has an issue with gluten, eating that protein causes damage to their intestinal lining, making it hard for them to properly absorb vital nutrients from their food. Can wreak havoc on all kinds of systems in the body in different ways. Some people have an autoimmune reaction to gluten that is so bad that eating gluten can cause the body to attack itself. This is called celiac disease. I've never been tested, but we'll talk about that later. But anyhow, to go on with the article about what all this means, it goes on to say that even those who have non-celiac gluten sensitivity eating wheat can manifest in a myriad of painful ways. Most people are misdiagnosed for years with other disorders and given medications that only help them mask symptoms without ever solving the problem. There's a huge list. So you two people can see that. This is our list of things. And again, I think we can talk about this as we go, but I've certainly experienced most of them. Let's see, irritable bowel, some of them, headaches, depression, aching joints. And it's thought that if these things continue, that it can eventually lead to cancers, diabetes, anemia, and osteoporosis. They say that there's a 77 times higher chance of getting cancers like lymphoma if this stuff goes unnoticed. And I'll leave off in a place that we started as we came online today, ladies. I know this will shock y'all. Is glyphosate okay? Is it healthy? We talked about this on what Roundup from the Ground Up, I think it was. In 2002, Monsanto provided its own safety evaluation that it is safe and as nutritious as conventional wheat. And correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda, wasn't this when some of the GMOs and the stuff really started taking hold? Yeah. That's what I thought. And then, of course, in true government form, the FDA has accepted their conclusion using the apparent logic that billion-dollar companies out to make big bucks on their own science can claim their products are safe because they said so and they have legitimized it. So, one last little note, the only two places that allow Monsanto's wheat is the United States and Colombia.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is
fascinating and the same old story all at once. So where you want to jump in?
Yeah. One thing I want to point out really quickly too on the whole glyphosate. The USDA makes those same claims that it's safe and all these things. So clearly Monsanto and the USDA are in bed together.
One and the same. And I think, didn't we find in our glyphosate research that it was a very limited test and that potentially the glyphosate is not the issue, it's the carrier that's really doing all the damage. And lo and behold, nobody's researching the carrier.
It's the carrier, it's the binder, right?
Yes, that makes it stick and so they can disperse it. Yeah.
Which, like I said before we started this, you can track this back to, you can go to Roundup from the Ground Up, but you also can go back to our last podcast about, the food pyramid. How we have been structured to eat a lot of these grains. That's majority of our diet.
Well, it's also interesting because when you mentioned the cancers and things being caused from gluten intolerance or gluten allergies and things like that, when you think about people eating a lot of gluten, and a lot of times foods that would contain these products are processed foods. They're foods that are going to provide glucose for your body to store, and glucose being a sugars feed cancer. So I feel like there's kind of a correlation there too,
Yeah. And a lot of times if you're getting these cheap things we all love. I mean, let's look at Little Debbie's and that sort of thing. You're eating a lot of chemicals, when you've got a shelf life longer than a cockroach. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What is that really doing to your
Like
body?
a fucking Texas toast, man.
Right? Yeah. Right.
You know?
That. Yeah. Well, I'm often asked, how do you know you have an allergy if you haven't been tested? And there's two parts to that. One of them is I'm too logical sometimes. So if I know that I'm going to go to the doctor and they're gonna tell me, we'll eliminate it from your diet, and there is no cure, and the test may not be 100% accurate, why would I go to the doctor?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can do that myself. But what really happens, and it's maybe a little better now, but when I first started really fighting this, it felt like somebody was pulling my arms apart at the elbows. Like my joints would feel like they were being separated physically. I mean, and my entire body was inflamed. And when I cut out gluten, that went away. So there again, probably a good indication that I have, let's just call it a gluten intolerance. I don't need a fancy disease name. We know I've
Well,
struggled with autoimmune and all that too. So I'm just going to take it at that.
well, it goes back to also the way that the United States does their food, because when I lived in Europe for all them years, I had such bad issues with cheese and milk and bread and all these issues when I was living here. I went over
Mm-hmm.
there, my body went through like a restructure like the first month I lived there. Like it was hell on earth. But
Probably
after that, yeah,
detoxing.
I was detox. I mean, it was bad. I was like, I think I'm dying, you know. But after all that, after my system was cleaned out and I did all this, I felt so much better, and those foods didn't make me sick anymore.
Wow. Wow. My husband, Mr. Science, as I call him, he's the science behind a lot of what we do. And in his desire to not limit all the things I can't eat, he started doing research on a non-gluten flour, which I think is yucca, which we use that. And he
Yeah.
found a really cool one on Amazon that goes back. It is the same flour that was produced in the 50s. They've revived that and replanted it, and it's a company out in the Midwest that is selling it. And I can eat that with incredibly minimal response to gluten.
Yeah, but that's going to be just like apple cider vinegar, your fucking apples and everything. It's going to be good for how many years, and then the next thing you know, it's fucked up once again.
Yeah, ultimately, it does seem as though our food supply is stacked against us.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you think about the gluten part, when is the first time we really heard about it though?
Well, I
When
think
did this?
it can go back to like peanut allergies. Remember, none of us
Yeah,
grew up with any of these allergies, and all of a sudden, as my kids were coming along, they were born in the early 2000s. All of a sudden, all these kids started with the peanut allergies, and you had to start asking in school, what allergies are we working with? And there's different thoughts behind that. There's another article that points out 5 different thoughts. I have a sixth one too. But it could be anything from overuse of antibiotics to the chemicals around us, to what the diet is. And even like
yeah,
y'all said, the food pyramid, that's not on this list of 5 things.
yeah, yeah.
I was telling Laura before we hopped on here that I have been going down the parasite rabbit hole lately.
That eggs
And
everybody out, Amanda, but let's go.
well, okay, so I will preface it with this. My kids, so Kellen and I have been talking about the whole parasite thing for a while. And so the other day, Scout made a certain statement, and I won't say what it was, but I just told her, I was like, well, maybe you got worms. Good thing we're going to be doing a parasite cleanse. Just, joking around. Well, they went on a field trip later that day with some friends, and my children broadcast to the world that they've got worms.
Of course, they did.
It's like, cool. Let me address the moms group and let them know that I don't know that they actually have legit worms, but whatever.
So now your family's outcasted.
Exactly, as if we weren't already living in a
I was
camper
gonna
on.
say, in case you weren't weird enough in that community.
Yeah, yeah. Transplants living in a camper on the edge of the desert, but
And they
Yes.
have
Yes.
worms. They got worms coming out their booties.
yeah. So anyway, it's interesting because one thing about parasites is I'm just going to put it out there. We all have them. We all have them. Just
Yeah.
like everybody's bodies have E. coli, everybody's bodies have strains of strep, everybody's bodies have these things. It's just when they get out of balance that we really struggle with them. So, interestingly, when you have parasites that are out of balance, you can suddenly develop allergies to certain things. And usually our bodies, if you're taking good care of your body, you're active, you're eating the right things, you're doing the things that you should be, your body typically shouldn't have an issue with that parasite load becoming unbalanced.
Yeah.
But considering we live in a world today where we're eating tons of processed junk, people are becoming lazier and lazier. There's a lot of obesity and different types of like body diseases. I think it would become easier for that parasite load to become unbalanced. And so it's interesting. I'm not saying that's why we're seeing gluten intolerance or gluten allergies, but I think it could definitely be a contributing factor. And as you mentioned, Laura, it's like food allergies in general. If you look at the overall health of the population, I think it would make sense that part of people's problems could be coming from an overload of parasites because some of the other
Yeah.
symptoms of, dark circles under the eyes, fatigue, having a hard time sleeping, being anemic, or, things like that. And I think there's a lot of people that kind of deal with that.
Yeah.
I'm full of worms, man.
You
Yeah.
could be, and and as I was sharing with Amanda, and I want to take everything COVID off the table because this was something that hit me before that. Is as farmers, a deworming program is part of being a livestock farmer.
Yeah.
And it's a given. And you know that this cures that, that cures this, and you need to have a regimen or you need to be testing for them. And why is it? I mean, mammals. Why is it that we as a culture don't look at the same thing for people?
Yeah.
Because it's not just dirty animals, which I don't know that any of ours are dirty, but anyhow, it's not just farmers. This is a people problem. And pre-COVID, what really made me think of this is I was reading about ivermectin, and in third world countries, that was the number one choice to get those kids and those populations back on track was to use ivermectin to deworm them first. And and then so the food could be actually processed
Absorb.
properly in their body. So
Yeah.
I mean, what do y'all think about that? That's something nobody ever talks about.
Yeah. Well, I was going to bring up the same thing, because Amanda brought up E. coli and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Being a hogs carry that.
Yeah.
I had the issue. I had an entire litter die from E. coli.
Yeah, I vaccinate for that because I've lost some to that too.
Yeah. So, but E. coli does play off of other things, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
usually not just the E. coli.
Mm-hmm.
They usually have another symptom of something. And so, I think that's what, we're kind of getting off track a little bit, but I think that is part of it as well. I don't know how we see, because we are close to the anatomy and everything of pigs.
I think that's the closest, as I understand it.
Yes.
I mean, look at heart valves and things; they go to
Yeah,
pigs first.
exactly. Insulin. Everything comes from. But anyways, so why we look at it as if we're immune to it? It's like people who say they have, they don't have to worm their animals and they don't have whatever breed they got. It's like that in the red wattle world. They think that they're magical creatures, like they don't get parasites. They
Yeah,
don't get
yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
It's
Same,
like one
same over
lady
here in the
herself.
Mason world.
Yeah, it's like no, mother. I mean, they're a fucking pig, dude. Like
At the end of the day, yeah, they're a pig. They got some different qualities, but they still a pig. Yeah.
yeah, but it's just like that for us as humans as well. But also another thing, you want to go to being livestock. We put a lot of effort into like selling organic meat, pasture raised. People spend so much time researching what they're feeding their animals. What antibiotics are given to. They research all this but then they'll go out and they'll eat McDonald's 7 days a week
and get Botox injections and all these other things.
You'll do all this stuff, but you're not, like, I think a lot of times we forget about ourselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we also think that because there are regulatory agencies out there who make sure that our foods are safe, or make sure this is safe, or this is safe, it must be safe, so it's all okay. And
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like the naivety of a lot of our population. I do think more and more people are becoming more and more aware of that.
Yeah.
But I think that that's why. I think it's because we've just kind of allowed the responsibility of making sure that what we are eating and putting into or on
Yeah.
our body is up to somebody else. Like, we don't have to
Well,
worry things out there are safe for us to use.
yeah, but it's, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I got to read something that's going to make y'all's face do what I just did. Finish your thought,
Okay.
Molly.
So going back to gluten and the glyphosates, or however the fuck you say it, going back to those things. Okay, so everything is being genetically modified. All this stuff is happening. Everything is changing. You take it back to our food pyramid. They're telling us that we need to eat 90% of, like, what was it? Fucking 11 servings of freaking
9 to
pasta,
11.
breads, rice, all this shit. So you take it back to that. Well, people took that for granted because they're like, well, that's what we're supposed to do. So
Mhm.
we have consumed all of this into our bodies that we were told they were supposed to do. And then now here we are, years later, and everybody's got gluten intolerance. They've got, they're diabetics. People dying of cancer at such young ages, heart attacks. We got all this shit going on because we never researched it to really know what was what.
Yep. I agree with you. I had mentioned this article that has the 5 theories on why there's an increase in gluten intolerance. Y'all hang with me here. Theory number 1: losing touch with old friends. Some believe that the intolerance is a result of losing touch with bacteria, and that would be the old friends, meaning that we as a culture have lost touch with microbes like bacteria, parasites, fungi that we evolved with. Underdeveloped countries still have parasitic worms and organisms found in unfiltered water, as well as in fermented vegetables and soil. And although this sounds yucky, surprisingly, they don't seem to struggle with allergies that developed countries struggle with. Now, here's the part that gets gross. There's a study published in 2015 in an Australian science magazine. Patients diagnosed with celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease that reacts to gluten, were given worm therapy, meaning they were purposely infected with hookworms. There's the face. I see it, Amanda. Researchers found that participants were able to ingest gluten without harmful effects to their immune system from that. What the hell?
Well, maybe that goes into like the whole, if it's unbalanced. I mean, obviously our bodies need certain bacterias and maybe certain parasites to be able to properly function.
That's what
But
it goes. That's the closing sentence here. That this realistic hope that worms or some factor that the worms release into the body could be a potential new therapy for managing celiac disease. That face, there it is. Oh,
Well, it's just like people who want to get skinny and they swallow a bunch of tapeworms, man.
oh, wow. Yeah, no, no, thanks. Just to go back to my roots and me and my farm moms, and I know y'all are the same way. Get out there and play in the dirt when you're a kid.
yes, yes,
Don't be afraid of it. Don't live in a sterile environment. And this certainly, leads, to that, as far as, just getting out the way that we were intended to live.
Yeah.
yes.
But you look at it too as well. We've really become a technological society,
Mhm.
So we really have, look at the generations of kids coming up that, their school is on computers. They do everything on computers, video games, they do all this stuff. More people are just, COVID did that too. Put us inside, which
Mhm.
our bodies are already imbalanced, right? From all the shit that we're ingesting, we're already
Mhm.
imbalanced. And then you lock us up in the house, well, we're even more imbalanced, So it's
Yep.
hard to, get your body right.
Yeah, and that's essentially point number 2 is that there's so much wheat in there and not enough exercise to
Yes.
offset it.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, I feel like you can see that even in like being the time of year that it is, right? When I think of like kids' Christmas lists, I know when I was a kid, I can remember one year asking for like a new bike, a new hiking boots, new this, new that. There was mainly outside stuff. A lot of kids now are asking for like phones
Computer
and
games.
yeah, and like
But not
game.
even just kids, grown ass fucking adults.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Well,
I don't understand that.
I feel like we're modeling. So one thing for me, I try to be more intentional about putting my phone down and not doing everything with my phone because I feel like we really are modeling to our kids. I don't think about like I don't always think about that kind of thing, but I've thought about it more and more lately about how um the things that we do our kids see and they want to do that too. And so the fact that like Hallie this year, she was like, I really want a new phone for Christmas that I can talk on and listen to music. And I'm like, that's what I do with mine.
Ooh.
That's what I do
Yeah.
with mine.
Mm.
And so I'm like, she's seeing that and thinking, oh, that's cool. I want to do that too. And then I saw a thing the other day too that was talking about how Laura Ingalls was so excited on Christmas morning when they would get an orange in the toe of their stocking. And I'm like, what simplicity, you know?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
live in this society where it's like we are so hooked up to technology almost 100% of our day, even when we're sleeping. I bet the Wi-Fi's on, you know?
Yeah.
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 The new thing came out, we're Trekkies and we saw the commercial for the new thing that's the communicator that replaces your cell phone. That,
Yeah.
it projects on your hand.
Yeah.
So, wow. Yeah, definitely.
So, I think that when you're looking at a society as a whole, who that's kind of become our lives, we've replaced doing physical activities and outdoor activities with doing things on our phones or gaming consoles or, whatever it may
Mhm.
be. Our children are seeing that and they're doing the same things.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, another thing is too, going back to the gluten thing, right?
sorry,
You
I keep
know,
getting off track.
We do.
I
We
know I
do.
keep on. I'm like, well, that's great, but can we
Yeah,
get
bring
back
us
to
back, Miley. Keep bringing us back. I think we're wearing the big crown today, right, Amanda? The big tinfoil crown today. Yeah.
but no, going back to the gluten thing, I remember like I can't remember anybody having issues growing up.
No.
No, me
Mm-mm.
either.
Like I
No.
can't remember my mom being like, "You can't eat that cornbread." You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I
Yeah.
just I can't remember shit like that.
I
No,
mean, who didn't have the perfect mayonnaise sandwich from time to time growing up?
Dude,
Oh,
I used to eat
oh, I
butter
did.
sandwiches.
That's right. That's right.
jelly.
That's good. You can tell
You know,
each of us grew up right there.
I mean,
Yeah.
I used to get that country crock out and lather me up a butter sandwich.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. Somebody was asking me about margarine. That's another episode, but
Yeah, that needs to be another episode.
it does. It does. Theory number 3: overuse of antibiotics.
Yeah.
I can go down a couple different rabbit holes here. Having
It,
actually, we just realized both my kids are autistic. One was just recently diagnosed at 18 years old. And they say that's linked there. But what do y'all think about it in terms of gluten?
well, I think, when you really think about it, I don't think it goes to just gluten either. We really are a medicated society.
Very much so. There's a pill for everything. Just watch TV. That's the only thing that's on.
And
Yeah.
we talked about that as well. The
Yeah.
side effects of all the medication, we still put that in our body. Goes back to why medication, antibiotics, stuff like that has been regulated for your livestock because people just overdoing it. Creating new illnesses in animals that we haven't seen in fucking decades.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
know,
And
but
on top of that, antibiotics kill the good bacteria in your body.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
the
my
good-
next thing.
the gut
If
thing.
we're going to put this, with like the, cause, gluten and with the intestinal issues and stuff like that, well, we got to look at what we're putting into our body, all these antibiotics that really fuck up your gastro system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most certainly. My oldest was on a lot of antibiotics, so there wasn't much doubt there. But I'm gonna go off of this tangent very quick, and then I'll come back. We actually, as we hang out with friends on the weekends, we end up laughing about the autism and the gluten thing, because if you look at it, I'm autistic. My husband is autistic. If you look at what the actions are that qualify you for that, it's been around forever. I'm not making fun of autism by any means. I'm simply saying that it's some of this new titles that have come in to describe abnormal behaviors in a society where everybody wants to be the same.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we live in a world where you can be what you want to be.
Can you?
Yeah.
anyhow, that's like 3 more episodes there. I'll keep moving. Theory number 4, and this one pisses me off, that there is not an increase in gluten intolerance. It is all because famous people are openly gluten intolerant, and people are jumping on that bandwagon.
Which goes back to me saying when fucking what's his name was asking people about gluten, and they're like, "Yes, I have a gluten intolerance," and he's like, "Well, what is it?" And they like, I mean, some people will talk about all kinds of shit, like, and it's like, no, you're not.
Yeah. In terms of a food business, there has to be a demand for something to go. And I can tell you that I am so excited. We went to eat, we had hibachi last night with friends, and I walked into a hibachi sushi restaurant that had gluten-free options.
Mm-hmm.
What's that tell you? I mean, I guess sure, some people are on the bandwagon, but I don't think a lot of us want to give up gluten. It tastes good. I really miss it. It's very hard to do without it. So the thought that we would do this for attention just pisses me off.
Yeah. But at the same time, though, I think it's not as much people wanting to be that way. I think it goes back to entirely our systems have been fucked on purpose. Because look how much you got to pay for gluten-free shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I can speak to that on like 3 or 4 different levels, and I kind of hate to keep going down different rabbit holes. In some ways, it is more expensive. In some ways, it's not. I've learned that in my retail store as I develop products. Brats, for example, you need consumers know that a brat has a certain texture, and you cut it and it's all smooth. Well, something has to make it that way. And there's 3 or 4 ways to do it. One is how you work it, which takes a technical level that most people just simply don't understand. The second is to go to wheat, go to gluten, go to something like that as your binder. And that's the cheap solution. Blood is another one. I find that really gross. But anyhow, the fourth one is carrot fiber, non-GMO, clean, all that sort of thing. And it really didn't cost any more to do it that way. So maybe it's just a cultural thing in that wheat has always been the filler, the go-to, the binder, the extender, and it's just time for a cultural change.
Yeah. But, wheat is what the go-to was, but we were also told, that we need so much wheat, and then they started fucking with the wheat.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of funny. Is what was it the Reagan saying? I'm from the scariest words ever spoken. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So theory number 5, what if you've got a different digestive issue? It's an undertaking to switch. It takes determination and knowledge, and a gluten-free diet may actually hurt you if you don't need to be on it. What about that, based on what we just said about the food pyramid and all that?
Yeah.
No benefit to a gluten-free diet for those who don't have a medical reason for it. I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know. What do y'all say about that?
I don't know if I believe that, because I feel like I don't know that I necessarily, when I eat things that are higher in gluten, I feel kind of sluggish, brain foggy, like things like that. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I have like a severe reaction to it that would be enough to make me eat it and then be like, oh, I'm never doing that again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I notice when I'm off of it, I have more clarity, more energy, and things like that. So I would say for most people, if they're not having like severe pain in their abdomen or bloating or anything like that, they're probably thinking they don't have a reaction to gluten.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if people were to back off of it, they would probably notice the differences of having more clarity and more energy and things like that too, just like just like I do. I mean, that's obviously from my perspective, but I know like from Kellen's perspective, he also experiences that. And he has psoriasis, which can be autoimmune. And he sees significantly less inflammation in his psoriasis when he's not eating gluten.
Yeah.
So I think for somebody who maybe wasn't, you know, maybe for somebody who didn't understand the connection between autoimmune issues and gluten, um, they wouldn't understand why, if they have skin issues like eczema, psoriasis, anything like that, um, how eating gluten can irritate those things and make it worse, you
Yeah.
know? I feel like there are certain things there where it's like, even though people might say they don't have a gluten allergy or a gluten intolerance, so they wouldn't work it out of their diet, they're not realizing the benefit that they may experience by cutting it out or drastically reducing the amount that they're intaking because they don't have pain necessarily being caused by it. Does that make
True.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Y'all want me to read off this giant list of the things it could be? We've touched on a lot of them. Okay, sure. I'll be glad to.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna
Go
say, I was
for
like,
it.
yep. I'm like,
All right, number one, weight loss or weight gain. Next, nutritional deficiencies like low iron levels due to malabsorption. Bloating, pain, gas, constipation, diarrhea is one whole topic. Fat in stools, aching joints, depression, eczema, headaches, exhaustion, irritability, and behavioral changes. Infertility, irregular menstrual cycles, and miscarriage. Boy, that's a big one. Cramps, tingling, numbness, slow infant and child growth. Interesting when you think of the food pyramid. And dental health decline. A lot of big things there.
that is
Well,
very interesting. I know when I was in the thick of infertility issues, the number one thing that they said to cut out was gluten. That was like
Really?
the number one thing. Yeah. And that was not a doctor that told me that. That was a lot of independent research and things that I saw from people who had the credentials to be writing books or, this or that. And that was their number one recommendation, to cut out over processed foods, sugars, gluten, and dairy. Yeah.
Wow. That leaves you with a meat and vegetable
Yeah.
and some
yeah,
cheese.
well,
Oh
it,
no, you
it
said
leaves
dairy.
Yeah.
it leaves you with meat, which is a very small portion of what we're told we need to eat.
Yeah. It's 12% of our daily intake, according to the My Plate.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and then
go ahead.
there's that stigmatism that comes with that. Now you're weird. Now you're not normal. Now you can't eat what everybody else eats.
Yeah.
It's as much a mental game as it is anything else.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically, we forget about clean eating,
Mm-hmm.
but eating clean has become hard and hard and harder to do.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like so much, Kellen and I talk about this all the time. I feel like a lot of us feel that food, it's not so much you're eating for energy, you're eating because it is a social thing. It's something that you enjoy. There's so much put into food now. Like eating clean used to be simple because that's what people just ate to be able to provide nutrition and energy for themselves. Whereas
Yes.
now we have, look at the Food Network, you
Yeah.
know, or all these
Yeah.
different magazines. We have all these different restaurants. And I know, Laura, that you are a foodie and you enjoy like different things. I think that makes eating exciting, like trying new
Yes.
things. It
Mm-hmm.
is exciting. But I also feel like it's become such a social thing that if you are eating simply or eating more clean, it goes against the societal norm,
It
And so that's,
absolutely does.
yeah,
Yeah. And for as strong as I am, 2 weeks ago, I caved, and I said, I'm going to eat like I don't have an allergy. And I was secretly hoping that I wouldn't have the reactions that I have had. And honestly, they weren't as bad, but it was awful. And the one that was the worst, y'all, was the mood swings. For 3 days, I was riding a roller coaster of emotions and things that is not
But
me when I'm not on it. I
yeah.
mean, what the hell?
But
What's in this stuff?
do you think though that it's not affecting you as bad now because your body is actually the process that you've been doing for however long, you're cleaning your body out.
Absolutely. That was the conversation with my husband last night. And I've added I gave up a lot of vegetables. I pretty much am a meat and cheese kind of person. And I wasn't really getting fiber, and when you look at regulating diabetes and things like that, you need that. So we actually found a great fiber, and the joke around here is I drink 2 cardboard boxes a day because that's what it tastes like. It's a
Yeah.
cardboard box. But I do think it's what you said, Molly. It's that I am largely eating clean most days of my life, weeks at a time. I'm taking this fiber every day that is cleaning my system out, and so the reactions aren't as strong as they used to be. Yeah.
Yeah. But, going thinking about what our food is now, and you said, it gives you mood swings and all this stuff. When you think, and Amanda was talking about, how eating simple is like taboo now, you know what I mean?
Right.
But
It
like,
is.
I mean, it really is. It is taboo. Think about like back in the day, okay? You would go to a party, Frontiers, whatever, building a cut. They'd have them a party, and it would be like an animal they just slaughtered, some
Mm-hmm.
beans, some
Mm-hmm.
corn,
Mm-hmm.
and they were excited about it. Like the
Yeah.
orange,
Yeah.
like the orange in the stocking. They were excited about that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
n-
That's how
now
I
if
grew
I
up, and you did too, Molly. And did you, Amanda? We ate what Granddaddy grew. That was it.
yeah,
That's what we
no
ate.
main day hamburger helper.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Yes.
But now that I think about it, if I go to a party and they ain't got some fucking buffalo chicken dip, I'm like, what kind of party is this?
Yep. Yep. It's okay. I sell that in the clean version.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
but we have been structured for destruction.
Oh my God, that phrase is perfect. That is spot on. That is exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we have. I mean, you look at everything is now modified. It's like we took baby steps. It was like, we're going to put out the food pyramid. Okay. Now we've got them hooked on all these things. It's all about money anyways. But now we're telling them they need 11 servings of all of these grains and pastas and all this shit. But now we're going to modify it. And now Roundup is in. You know what I mean? And so now
Yeah.
everything, it's just been little baby steps.
And then all these people are going to develop an autoimmune disease or some random disease that modern medicine doesn't have an answer for. So we'll just keep giving them pills until they die, and then they're a patient for life, and the rich get richer, and the not informed people suffer the price, and
Oh.
some of us try to wake up and fight the fight for the rest.
And then
Yeah.
we'll infect them with COVID and we'll scare everybody like they're dying.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And then well, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to say that. So should I bring up number 6, ladies, or do we not want to touch that subject too today?
No, go ahead.
I mean, we all scroll at night, right? Or whatever it is, we all scroll on our phones. There is a 6th theory on what's going on with all this. And that is that aliens have injected us with some different DNA, and it is causing that to happen. All these pains and aches and autoimmune diseases, and that we're changing as a human. How about that one?
Well, I don't know what to say about it.
Well,
Because
aliens are real now. Remember that. That came out not too long
Yeah.
ago.
It was just telling us about all these UFOs and stuff when all of the Hunter Biden stuff was going on. So
That's
UFOs
right.
must be real because Hunter Biden definitely didn't need any attention.
no. But
Just put that out there too.
yeah. But
We'll
in
bring some more.
reality though, who the fuck really knows, man?
No, all I can say is the government is not our friend, and we're on our own to figure it out. And I'm gonna
Mhm.
keep digging. That's what I know at the end of the day. And I got good friends to talk it out with.
And apparently, Ma Ingalls really should just be our role model.
I mean, she
Prob-
should.
Probably so.
Could you imagine how much money people could save just buying fucking oranges and kid stockings?
That was not where I thought that was going.
Oh man,
It's the
Damn,
truth.
it is
we're funny
true.
people. We are funny, funny people.
I don't know if we're funny, we're just ignorant. I mean, I don't know.
Funny, funny, ha ha, funny, funny. A little bit of
Funny,
both.
funny. Yeah.
All I can think of is Joe Pesci when he's like, "Funny, funny how, my clown."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anyhow,
yeah, what I love about this though is because when we started this, we talk about this all the time, but when we started this, it's amazing to me how we have progressed. But now each podcast that we do is relatable to things in the past that we had no idea.
yeah,
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 yeah. I mean, we just keep following. What do we want to know more about? What the hell is this about? And
Yeah.
we're kind of following our own breadcrumbs, you could say.
Yeah, like I would have never thought that Roundup from the ground up with glyphosates was going to connect to gluten, which was going to connect to the food pyramid, which was going to connect to this. Like, and it's just like we've said from the beginning too, like we just need thumbtacks and fucking string.
yes.
Yes,
That's what I was
yes.
gonna say. I feel like it's not gonna be long. We're just gonna be like mummies with string all wrapped around.
Yeah. Here here comes the Sounder podcast. You know?
Get out your yard. Here's my question: what does it all connect to?
I
Money.
know. I
That's the
think it's
mission of the podcast, right? Where does it all come back to?
yeah, it's I don't know. It's like if something happens to one of us mysteriously, we'll know we were on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
Aliens.
I think it is money, but I think it's more than that, Molly. I don't know. Maybe I've watched too many villain movies. Bro, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I mean, I
power
think
and control and yeah. I mean
that
yeah,
I think simply it's just a purge.
Yep.
I do. I think it's a purge. And it's
well,
not a purge like the strong will survive. It's a purge that the money will survive.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think too I think that if you look at COVID from a viewpoint that is not medical and you're just looking at as the government or the higher ups telling you you need to do this, how many people would comply and how many people wouldn't?
Yeah.
Okay, those that wouldn't, how do we get them? What's our next move? Like
And what percentage of the population was that? What are we really up against?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I'm not saying that COVID isn't real or anything like that. Me and my family have had it 3 times. It's been different for us every single time. It's not been the same sickness. It's been different each time. And we felt like we didn't feel great, but we all made it through. So I'm not trying to belittle the effects that COVID has had on some people, but it's not had the same effect on everybody. And I do think it was a giant experiment. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
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 Let me say something. Let me put a disclaimer on this episode. Hate to do it, but I have to do it. None of these things we're talking about are meant to replace medical advice,
Yes.
doctor's
No.
advice, or tell somebody what they should or shouldn't do with their own health. They should
Yes.
make their own choices. There.
Dude,
There's your asterisk.
we're just three women out here babbling off at the mouth, doing what women
Yep.
do.
Girlfriends talking. That's what we do best.
Yeah.
No, it's not. We do a lot of things really good, actually. We do a lot of great things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think though, like us bringing all this stuff up though, really, I can see the impact of what because a lot of people are messaging us now. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are, they're looking at their food different. They're asking questions, and that is, very, very motivating for me.
Me
You
too.
know, Because when I come up with this idea for this podcast and I contacted you guys, I never thought that we'd be where we are now.
No.
Yeah.
No, we're actually up to the point of looking at advertising. We've got so many full
Yeah.
listens. So if anybody out there is interested, reach out.
Yeah.
You can find us each at our farm pages, the Pig Nerd, Copper Penny. Is it Copper Penny Farm, Copper Penny,
Copper Farm.
and Buck Family Ranch, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, we were talking about aliens. We talked about fucking gluten. I don't know. We talked about everything
Worms.
today.
We talked about worms. Blah.
And now it is made public that your kids do not need to be hanging out with the Buck kids because they have worms coming out their booty.
Oh my goodness.
I bet she's already dewormed them. It's probably no problem now.
Until we get home from our trip, just in case if we have any things get
Ah,
happen at my
yeah.
parents' house.
Are you talking about them North Kakalaki worms? I'm familiar with those.
Yeah. Lord Jesus.
God. You know, though, I mean, we live on a farm. We all
Yeah.
live on farms. We probably
Yeah.
all have them.
Yeah.
We do all
Yeah.
have.
Dude, I was castrating pigs yesterday, right? And my dad was out, Scotty was out there, Uncle Benny was out there, Anyways, Uncle Benny was holding a pig for me, and I'm cutting, and I went to snap the testicle, I went to pull it out, and I had this razor blade in my hand, and I couldn't get it, so I put the razor blade in my mouth.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And Scotty was like, "Did you put that some bitch in your mouth?"
It's a razor blade. Where were you supposed to set it?
I said I disinfected it before I cut him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it's better than me. I could have ripped the cord with my teeth. I didn't do that.
That's a little bold. That's a little over the top. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I gotta have a great immune system.
Exactly.
You do.
But
All right.
I bet I am parasitic.
Well, we can hook you up.
Yeah.
I'm pro ivermectin. It's cured a couple things for me, but anyhow, yeah.
Yes.
So we getting together next week again? This is what, our Christmas episode this week?
Yeah, talking about all this. Yeah. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody.
You want to talk about real farmers, real talk? Today was that day.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Everybody gets an orange and a worm.
And a dewormer, that's right.
We'll be sending out. What'd you say, baby?
Okay,
What'd you
say?
I said that's a great stocking stuffer, an orange and some ivermectin.
I know that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say we're gonna send out clementines and little tubes of ivermectin.
There you go.
Yep. Good luck with that. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, y'all have a Merry Christmas if I don't talk to you.
Yeah, y'all go feed them hogs and them churros. Right. Can't feed Gobble. She's dead. See you later.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.